In the week since I made my video at Clough Waterfall, the temperature has almost halved what it was, and it is now raining. Winter is definitely coming. All the trees are just starting to change colour to that beautiful shade of orange that we have in autumn as we head into the autumn period. With that thought in mind, I've come down on my day off to one of my favourite waterfalls, which is Lumb Hole Falls near Hebden Bridge. When you get the right angle, you get a photograph of the bridge and both the waterfalls together, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, I haven't been here for a couple of years, pandemic and all that. To get here you have to climb down this area here, and it's quite a climb. I don't actually see myself doing it for many more years. And since I came here as well, there seems to be a lot of collapse down here as well. There's a lot of rocks come down over here, making it a very dangerous place at the moment. So I'm having to be very careful with my footing. I'm also going to have to be very careful where I get my images from. One of the first images I want to get down quite low, and I want to get in front of this branch you can see over here. And I want to get a nice shot looking up at the waterfall with that branch as a foreground interest. As you can see, there is quite a lot of movement in the water today, and the brown colour you've got on it, that's due to the peat content of the water in this area. Now there is a warning sign at the top where the public footpath starts saying that the falls are closed. And that's because of the fallen rocks. Now over the summer months you do get a lot of wild swimmers here and a lot of people visiting the place. If you actually look at this place on Google Maps, there are photographs from anything up to 2 years ago of just that, water swimmers. This place, like most waterfalls, ends up like Glastonbury. But today, because it's raining and it's quite cold, even though I'm wearing a t-shirt, I'm here on my own pretty much, which means I've got a few minutes to pick out my images. So I'm going to try and set up for this first one, and then we'll see what else we can get here. So, in order to get my first composition, I'm set down in the water. I'm looking at the fallen tree here as my main foreground interest. I'll just show you on the video up here. As you can see, I've got the camera set so the roots on that tree just offset hug the waterfall in the distance over there. As you can see by the video, I've got quite a slow shutter speed to actually bring out the slowness in the water, to show the movement in the water, but to make it nice and smooth. Now, because of the peat in the water, that slowness is having an effect of creating streaks. We've got little patches of white and patches of brown as it goes along. It looks a little sickly, but overall it should make a nice image. That's how it looks today, because it's so rough and because the water's flowing so rapidly. Now I want to keep that in the image. I could use the white balance to tone that down, but it no longer look the way it does. Now I'm going to be shooting at ISO 100 and about half a second exposure to actually get that image how I want it to look. I'm also focus stacking the image as I do so often with these waterfall shots. Whenever I've got a foreground interest, I like to get everything sharp all the way through, so I always focus stack that. This is going to be a 4-image stack. Got 2 on the fallen tree in front of me, 1 on the midground, and I've got 1 on the background as well. I haven't bothered with an ND filter because there's no real movement or action in the sky. As you can see on the video, is pretty much a whiteout anyway. So there's no point putting an ND filter on to bring out the sky. It's literally just a polarizer to take the reflection off the water, and that's it. That's my first image. Now I am going to try safely for the next image to get down over this end over here somewhere, so I can actually see this flow of water in front of me with the waterfalls in the background. Now I'm not going to take any silly risks. If I can't make it down there, I'm going to be meeting you at the top here to get a shot of the waterfall looking down at it. This image is coming up now. I'll see you on the next one. Okay, so it was exactly as I suspected. The loose rocks that are down there are a little bit too slippery and too loose to try and walk down, making it far too dangerous. Now, I am a father first and a photographer second, so I'm not going to risk my life or serious injury just for a photograph. However, I have come up to the top here and I've got a slightly better composition of the waterfall looking down. As you can see, I'm set up on the floor just there. Got my polarizer set to take the glaring reflection off the water that you can see in the video. As you see, there's a lot of reflection from the sky there. There's no canopy around the waterfall, so the light just comes straight down. I've got the camera set low, so I'm looking underneath these bushes at both waterfalls, and I've got the tree canopy just hugging over it. This tree has just a few red berries on, which I'm hoping will show up in the image later on. Let me show you the composition up here. As you can see on the composition, the tree canopy is falling over the image just nicely, hugging the waterfall and showing a nice movement in the water underneath. Now, as you can also see in the video, there is some movement in the trees due to the wind. Not a lot I can do about that except two different images. I'm going to have to take one image for the waterfall and the water. I'm going to have to take a second image at a faster shutter and higher ISO of the trees. I'm going to have to try and blend those together. And what I'm most likely going to do is keep all the foliage shots separate as my main image and just blend the water in as a second image. I'll have to decide that when I get back to the computer. Either way, that will come up in a moment. Just for your information, I did use ISO 4000 on the image of the trees and ISO 100 on the image of the waterfall. When I blend the two together, it's just going to show up as ISO 4000 because the main image I'm going to use is the one of the trees. That's going to be the image that I get the EXIF data off. The waterfall itself is about 1/3 of a second. If I remember, I will try and put all those settings up with the images. And because I can't get further down, I'm going to see what image I can actually get across. I'm going to see if there's anything I can get that I haven't thought of before. Maybe a different perspective looking from the bridge downwards, or maybe from the other side looking towards the bridge. Okay, so I've just set up for an image. Now, as suspected, there is an image to be had here. I'm set up on the top of the waterfall. I'm actually looking at the main waterfall in front of me, with the other waterfall at the side. Now the main waterfall in front of me is showing up that sickly brown colour, whereas the waterfall on the opposite bank is showing up quite white in the image, contrasting nicely against all the greens and the mosses. Now if I just show you, as you can see, that's kind of what I'm looking at. There's got the ferns in the foreground here. I've actually set the camera a bit above them because they're moving a little bit too much and I don't want to have to try blending them in. On the opposite bank I've got ferns, I've got mosses, all showing up a nice vibrant green, and I've got a few trees just showing some of the yellow autumnal colour that I'm looking for. I'll put the composition up here. As you can see, the lower left hand side of the image is going to be dominated by the main waterfall with that sickly brown water going down. I may try and reduce that a bit in post. Opposite I've got the white water coming down the waterfall in front, showing nicely against those greens, and then I've got the pool of water in front, which I'm using a fairly slow shutter speed to actually create some movement in the froth that's in that pool at the bottom. It's a really dark pool, so the white froth should show up quite nicely. All in all, I think that'll be a good image. If it is any good, here it comes. Okay, so the final image I'm going to get from this location today, I'm actually going to set up on this rock down here. I'm going to be looking directly at the bridge. Now, if I just bring you over here, as you can see, I've got this nice little bit of fern down there. It's just showing up nicely in the image because of the nice vibrant colour of it. Now, I'm actually being quite careful because I'm actually on quite slippery rocks at the moment. I'm going to take in this image at about a second, which is quite a long exposure for me for a waterfall, but I want to get the water movement as much as I can. There isn't really much texture to think about in the water today, so I want to get more of the movement, especially with this, again, the sickly brown colour. If I show you on the composition, as you can see, I've got the wall leading nicely into the water, I've got the bridge making up my background interest, I've got all the water flowing nicely in the image. Now, even at the second exposure, the fern on the wall there isn't moving so much that I need to worry about blending it or anything like that. I'm happy with the amount of movement I'm getting in it. Once again, I've got the polarizer set to take the glare off the water. And all in all, that's all I can really say for this image. On the back of the camera, it looks like it's going to be a good one. I'll only really know when I get on the computer, but whatever it comes up, here it is. It's a shame to see another one of my locations taken out by nature's wrath, but that's what I have to remember. Nature can be dangerous, so can weather. Now, what's happened here is obviously it's been washed down by massive amounts of rainfall and water and wind. It hasn't ruined it, it's just made it a bit more difficult to enjoy. You just got to make the best of it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and hopefully you enjoyed the photos. Please give a like, share and a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do so, and join me in the next one. Not sure where the next location is going to be, but I'm thinking of visiting another one of my waterfalls, one of my older locations. as it has been a couple of years since I've been to most of them. I've also got a little trip coming up to a new waterfall soon as well, so keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, thank you for joining me in this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.